Guys, I'm going to try now as quickly as possible to clarify the basics of the electrical course. The heart has two atria and one ventricle. Specifically, there is a right atrium, a left atrium, a right ventricle, and a left ventricle. The heart's main function is to pump oxygenated blood from the atria to the ventricles and then distribute it throughout the body, ensuring proper circulation. So the blood arrives in the right atrium in a venous manner, and here there is a well-known node, which is called the node. This specific node is responsible for depolarizing and generating an electrical stimulus. The stimulus then travels through three wires to reach another node, which is widely recognized as the filter or atrioventricular node. This is the sinus node, and this is the atrioventricular node. Remember that the atria and ventricles are separated, okay? Whenever this stimulus reaches the atrioventricular AV node, it triggers the insertion of a P wave, signifying its arrival in the waveform. The ventricle size and mass in relation to atrial masses indicate that the ventricles are larger, which leads to a very small P wave. Typically, the P wave is the first wave to appear in an electrocardiogram, EKG recording. So here it goes, polarizing cell by cell, right act to left act, to see the contraction, for the blood to leave the right act and go to the right ventricle, leave the left act and go to the left ventricle. Does this occur simultaneously, all right? There is no interruption here. Therefore, we must be aware of two additional threads. The left branch and the right branch. Left branch and right branch. We are talking about electricity here. In the ventricle, the initial insertion occurs with a Q wave, followed by the R wave zone, typically indicating the most positive wave, corresponding to the left ventricle. This sequence of events signifies the first activity within the ventricular chamber. Following that, we proceed with P, Q, R, and S. These steps are essential in the process, so it is important to carefully execute each of these tasks. So, after we manage to get all the electrical stimulus to reach both ventricles so that they would contract, the right ventricle would go to the lungs for the blood to be oxygenated and then return to the atrium, and the left ventricle would pump all this oxygenated blood to the body through the aorta artery. Following each contraction, there is a subsequent relaxation phase. This relaxation is initiated by the T wave on the ECG. Simple. Understood? Arrived through the venous system, contracted both atria to pump blood into the right ventricle, then into the pulmonary artery, where it reached both lungs. Carbon dioxide was released while oxygen was taken in. The oxygen entered the left atrium. It's important to remember that the left atrium also contracted, so it is already full of oxygenated blood. From there, the blood moves to the left ventricle, filling it completely before it reaches the aorta artery. This ensures that the oxygenated blood is distributed to all systems and organs, allowing them to carry out their respective functions effectively. All right, a big hug. And don't forget, everything in the heart is electrical stimulation, and if there is any change, we will identify it through the course.